All right, welcome to the Sharp Mind Show, episode 22. I'm Nate, the Fit Future MD, your host. Make sure you shop at InserSale.com, pick up the cool inspirational t-shirt today. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. All right, so, of course, we're going to talk about my beloved Carolina Panthers. We were 0-2, now we are 1-2, right, with a 30 to nothing to zip to zero demolishing of the Atlanta Falcons, our biggest rival, right? So, is there hope now for the Carolina Panthers now that we're 1-2, or are Atlanta Falcons just that bad, right? Well, number one, Atlanta Falcons are, 1-2, the same record as us. But I think this is really a defensive story, today. Obviously, we held one of the best running backs in the league, Bijan Robinson, to under 100 yards rushing, number one. And we kept him in check receiving as well. Only 39 yards receiving, right? We only had one turnover in this game, Carolina Panthers, and that was Trevor Etienne on a punt, a muffed punt. But I say I think the key really here is that, the defense really came up big in this game, right? Basically, shut out the Atlanta Falcons, forced 2 interceptions, and Christian Roseboom obviously got 9 tackles, right? So, and Chow Smith Wade, got that touchdown. So, do I think the Carolina Panthers are looking on the up and up here? Yes, but the problem is still, like, who is Bryce Young throwing to, right? Like, obviously, McMillan had an amazing catch in this game. Like, I mean, he looked like he was 50 inches off the ground. I don't know how, somebody from, somewhere is going to have to measure that, but he looked like he was at least 50 inches off the ground, to catch one of his 3 catches. But the simple fact is, when Bryce Young is going back to throw, no receivers are open. Like, it's like the other team just knows all the plays, right? Like, and so maybe we need to do a better job of disguising the play or something. But not an impressive throwing day, only 121 yards throwing. But what I like to see here, and this is, where Bryce Young really stepped up versus Atlanta Falcons, is that when it wasn't there, he threw the ball away or he ran the ball, right? Especially early. Whereas in the other 2 games, it's basically been turnover city, right? Or trying to force something that's not there. Like, if you go back to pass and all your receivers are completely covered up, there's nothing you can do but run or throw it away, right? And we saw Bryce Young do that in this game. Now, that didn't give him the best quarterback rating, 78.6. He ran a touchdown in. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard had a good day. 17 carries, 73 yards. Would have loved to see him go in the end zone for my fantasy team, but I don't think it would have mattered this week. But, so do I think there's hope for the Carolina Panthers? Absolutely. I think we are going to be right up there fighting with Tampa Bay for the division. The Saints don't look that great. Falcons don't look that great. So I think we can be right up there. Obviously, yesterday in the Tampa Bay game, there was this, second block field goal return for a touchdown, and then Baker Mayfield shakes it off and drives the ball down the field, and they kick a field goal and win it. So they're 3-0, but 1-2 in our division. We're sitting in solid second place, and I do think that the Carolina Panthers do have some hope here with a 30-0 victory. If this defense keeps going like this, and we don't turn the ball over, we can be pretty dangerous, I think. So you got a good run game. If you got a good run game and a good defense, you always got a chance, right? So let me know what you guys think about the Carolina Panthers in the comments below. Was the Falcons just that bad, or the Panthers actually this good of a team and just needed to warm up a little bit? Let me know what you think. This episode is brought to you by London and the Goo Goo. London and the Goo Goo is my wife's book. It's a children's book. It's got a great moral. If you've got nieces, nephews, or children of your own, make sure you pick up London and the Goo Goo. Available on Amazon. Also available in the description below. All right, guys. So we talked about speculation yesterday, right? Well, Bitcoin, Solana, XRP, Ethereum, they all dropped 5% in 30 minutes yesterday, right? It almost looks, on the chart, it looks like a complete crash out, right? In stocks, we call it a liquidity sweep, where basically you're basically searching for buyers, and you just never find the buyers until you're 5 or 8% down, right? But this is what I'm going to say about Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, Solana. A lot of people are building things on top of Solana, top of XRP, top of Ethereum. Bitcoin's the one that's worth the most because it's the one that's, supposedly not controlled by anybody. But this stuff has high volatility, and it has high volatility because, there's really no worth to it right now, right? It's all speculation that it will be worth something one day, right? And so, that creates high volatility. If somebody needs capital, whether it is to live or whatever, this thing is just run up. This thing, Bitcoin was all the way down to $10,000 a couple of years ago. I think it was the low of this year, 60,000, and it was sitting in the 120s, right? It was obviously going to pull back, right, at some point. And how far it draws down, no one really knows. I think it's going to draw back down into probably the 80,000, 90,000 range. That would be my guess. But obviously, the price of Bitcoin has made it where Bitcoin is no longer viable as a regular everyday person. You can still get Ethereum as a regular everyday person. You obviously can still get Solana, XRP as a regular everyday person. But to me, something that's $100,000, nobody's going to be able to afford that, right? As a regular person, right? So that's the Bitcoin's basically for the elites. And if you're sitting there stacking $5 worth of Bitcoin every week, that's cool. But obviously, it can still 10x from 100,000 to 1 million or whatever they say it's going to go to. But 10x of $5 is only $50, and you can get that every day in the stock market. So, just my opinion. I'm probably going to look back in history and be like, "Oh, I should have bought some Bitcoin." But like I say, I don't do speculation, right? I do, automatic stuff, right? So let me know what you guys think about this Bitcoin or crypto drawdown. Like I say, it happened less than 30 minutes and it's sitting down right now. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. All right, so as you know, I'm a life coach, so we go through a life coach scenario today. So I got 34-year-old Sandra. Sandra's had it with the cost of living in the United States. Says she wants to leave the United States. Well, the truth is, the inflation is crazy right now. Like I say, I just watched a video where the price of an oil change went from $49.99 to now the price of oil change is like $79.99, and it literally went up like $10 a week for like a couple weeks. And then like the premium synthetic oil change is like $120 or something right now, right? Which is wild, you know. But you know, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about inflation. It's not like, you know, it's inflation for things that people have to have, right? You know, your car's got to have an oil change if you're getting to work in the United States, because most people in most cities are not very good walkable cities in the United States, unlike other, you know, unlike European cities and stuff like that. But what are the pros and what are the cons of leaving the U.S. versus staying in the U.S.? All right, so I'm going to go through, you know, I got it listed backwards in the description, but I'm going to go through the cons of leaving. Number one, your friends and family don't live abroad, right? So if you can't bring your friends and family with you, to me, there's no reason to even think about moving abroad, right? Number two is taxes. If you make money overseas, guess what? The U.S. is going to tax you double, right? You're going to get taxed by the country that you're in. You're also going to get taxed by the United States, right? So obviously that's a problem, right? And I would say, you know, let's say I've lived abroad in Antigua, I've lived abroad in Curacao, obviously traveled to a bunch of places. But the biggest thing that really makes you miss home or makes you miss America is that there are modern conveniences in America no matter where you live, right? Whether it be 2-day shipping, whether it be you know, being able to go down the street and get a coffee, or you know, just conveniences that you don't think about when you're living in America, right? Now, I will say, is it worth triple the price to be able to go get a cup of coffee whenever you want, or is it worth triple the price, you know, to be able to get a donut? Like, so in European and in the Caribbean, you basically get soda. Like, so if you're a soda drinker, you get sodas by the can, you know, whereas in America, you get sodas by the 2-liter, you get free refills, you know, that kind of stuff, right? Obviously, you know, I'm from the South, so I missed some sweet tea while I was gone. So you just lose convenience and familiarity, right? Now, the reason she is considering leaving is because of the low cost, right? Basically, it's all cost. Housing, healthcare, food, you know, that kind of thing. So if there's some way, you know, you can so here's the disconnect too, because, you know, if you're a retiree, you already made your money, you're sitting on 5 mil, sitting on 10 mil, absolutely you can go to another country and just live like a baller for the rest of your life, right? But if you're a person, she's 34 years old, right? So she's not retired, she's not financially free yet. Obviously, we can get her to a goal of financial freedom by 40 and then roll out. But the only way I see this as viable, like, oh, you want to leave the U.S., well, can I be in the same time zone and work remotely from a different country, right, where I'm living cheaper, right? So can I get a job for a Texas firm that I'm working from home remote, or maybe working in Las Vegas or something, and then I live in Mexico, or I, you know, live in the Caribbean, and I can do my job remotely from the Caribbean. Now, if you're sitting there getting paid, you know, average salary is $70,000. You're sitting there getting paid $60,000 to $80,000 and living in the Caribbean, you're living a great life, 100%, no doubt about it. But if you're going and you're living and you're working for a Caribbean company, you're going to be paid half of minimum wage to live there, even though it's the cost of living is lower. And honestly, you know, I don't really know of anybody that's ever done that. Not saying it's not possible, just saying that you know. Also, these countries, when you realize you're rich, obviously you got different gun laws and stuff like that you have to consider as well. I'm not getting into the Second Amendment, but you know, you're definitely a target when you're American in other places. Is all I'm saying. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you considering moving to another country, whether it be for political reasons, whether it be because of inflation? Like, what would make you consider, whether it be for the beauty of the place you're moving to, that kind of thing? Let me know in the comments below. And we'll move on to the last thing of the day, which is obviously the quote of the day. Discipline is remembering what you want most when temptation is offering what you want right now. Let me do it again. Discipline is remembering what you want most when temptation is offering what you want now, right? So this quote can be applied to a lot of things, right? And a lot of things, including from, so you're trying to get into a healthy, good weight, shape, lose weight, whatever. Obviously, I go right there to that. Temptation's offering you ice cream right now, but what you really want is to be healthy, so you don't eat the ice cream, right? Telling myself that one because I love some ice cream, right? Matter of fact, I hadn't had ice cream in a month. So, anyway, but, stuff like that is what I really head to. But then you're also talking about, you can talk about relationship stuff, right? What you really want, you want a loyal woman, but you got to be loyal to that woman, if you want a loyal woman for the rest of your life, right? So, if you're getting temptation from other people, you got to get rid of that temptation, right? So, I even think about all the people I've unfollowed on Instagram. Like I said, if you, if all you're showing every day is your ass on Instagram, I'm unfollowing you, right? Period. And there are people that, I grew up from elementary school knowing that I don't follow on Instagram or don't have them on Facebook or anything because all they do is show their ass, right? So we're not watching that every day. We're not putting temptation in our area at all, right? It also helps discipline when you do stuff like that. You take the temptations away, right? So you don't have ice cream in your house, you don't have cookies in your house, that kind of thing. But you got to know what you really want, right, is the point. If you want to be a bodybuilder on stage, you have to do certain things, and you have to let temptation get out of the way, right? If you want to be a professional athlete, a D1 athlete, I say NIL money is huge right now, so, how much harder would you have worked back in the day if you knew that $1 million was coming to you in college, right? Like, I think Archie Mann is making $3 or $4 million to throw interceptions for Texas, But besides that, this is discipline, right? You just have to be able to overcome temptation, right? So if you're an alcoholic, you quit drinking, you should be able to walk in the bar and not drink, but don't even walk in the bar, right? Don't even get you anywhere near it. That kind of thing. Let me know what you're having to overcome, what temptation you're having to overcome to get what you want. I'm Nate, and I'm a life coach. You're looking to set up your life, get through temptation, get more discipline in your life, set up and get where you want to go. I can help you. Sign up for life coaching in the description below. It's $2,000 for the year. Most life coaches charge $150 per hour, 3 hours minimum. And you see them once and you never see them again, or if you see them a second time, you're already in the $1,000 range, right? But you're going to get me every week for a whole year, and if I don't make your life better, I'll give you the $2,000 back. All right, so 100% money back guarantee. Make sure you shop at InstaSell.com. Pick up a cool inspirational T-shirt today. Buy my wife's book, Running in the Goo Goo Goo. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.